Hey there, in today's video, I am showing you a very simple encaustic setup. I had a bunch of people ask me about it. How do I use it? What do I do with it? How do I set it up? So I'm just showing you, seriously, it's probably the simplest setup you'll ever see. Very minimal, but it does take a few supplies and it does take a little bit of being careful, obviously, because you're talking hot wax. But it is very simple, and I hope that if you're interested, that you give it a try, but don't rush out and buy something. You know, how we artists tend to do that, right? We're like, we want that next thing. We want more of that. We like buying the art supplies, but we don't always use them. So anyway, I hope that this will spur you on to, even if it's not to do something with encaustic, but that you will be like, oh, I should try this, art supply in a new and different way. I think that is key to learning and growing and remaining curious, is just always trying things in new ways, because just because someone says you can't do it that way doesn't mean you can't. Break the rules in that regard. So one other thing I wanted to mention before we get started is, if you're on my email list, some of you are, not all of you, I do send out a monthly email at the end of the month. So the last day of the month, and I just share a little bit about art, what I've been doing, and then also some personal things. And anyway, if you're interested, feel free to sign up. But what I want to mention about the email list is that at the beginning of the year, I did kind of a merge or whatever, and deleted, there some that were replicas, and then also those who have not opened or clicked on the link in over 6 months. So if for some reason you were inadvertently deleted from the email list and you want to be on it, on January 31st, when my emails come out, if you do not receive, or my newsletter comes out, if you did not receive it, email me and I will make sure you get back on the list, or just resubscribe. So there's that. I'm highly unlikely that any of you who are signed up that happened to, but I always get a little nervous when I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this and do that, and then delete all those. And it's like, okay, hopefully it's the right people we're deleting. The people who don't want my emails. So anyway, okay, that's all the news I have for this new mid-January. And so yeah, let's get started. Here is my very basic, very simple encaustic setup. Now, obviously this is the primary setup, but I wanted to show you a few other supplies. So I have a dedicated frying pan, electric frying pan. It has let's see if you can see this. There's a temperature gauge right here. It's a very basic, very simple, cheap one. And I keep my encaustic. You could put your encaustic just directly in here, but when I initially started, I thought I was going to be using different colors. And so I thought, I'll have a bunch of these little pans and just tins. I have some over here. But what I found is, even the white, I don't really use. So for the most part, that doesn't even sit in here. I store it in here. But I kind of got rid of the other colors that I had, because that's not what I'm doing with encaustic. I'm primarily just using it as a final coat over the top of different pieces. I'm not actually doing, I don't know if you call it encaustic art or whatever. There's a lot. There's so much you can do with it, and you could Google that and watch YouTube videos. I have found that R&F brand, which is the brand of encaustic medium that I use, has so many helpful tips and information on that. And I will link that below, because their website, if you're interested in encaustic, they have a lot of information about that. That is very accurate. Now, so what I normally do is I have my frying pan. I have a dedicated, this is actually one I got through R&F, just specifically for encaustic paint, but I think you can get these Hake, I think that's how you say it, Hake, yeah, brushes anywhere. They don't have to be they don't have to be this brand. They don't have to be the R&F brand. And I don't clean them. I don't clean any of this. I just keep it and then remelt the wax on it when I turn it on. So if you were going to clean it or have it for some other reason, that you will have to figure out, because I just keep this whole set is just dedicated. I keep it exactly like this. So that's the pan. Here is I do not mix my encaustic medium. Now, it is purified beeswax and Damar resin. I don't do that myself. I don't mix it. You certainly could. There's more information out there about that. I keep it super simple. I just buy the encaustic medium. There are a number of brands that you can purchase that from. I just happen to have been purchasing RNF and have had great results with it. My bag is almost empty. I keep a dedicated tray of just little miscellaneous things, scraping tools, that I just keep all my encaustic stuff together because it does tend to get wax on it, and then I don't have to really worry about if it's, you know, if I'm using it for something else. So these things all just stay. Hi, I'm my encaustic kit right here. Now, the one thing that's part of my encaustic kit, but that I keep out and use for other things, is my heat tool. And this is just a really old, it's heated craft tool. And the encaustic artists, they will use more of a flame, like a torch kind of thing. I don't do any of that. I'm not that high tech or even that serious about it. So I have found that my little heated tool gets very hot and it will melt the wax and fuse the wax to whatever surface that I'm using. And I will demo that in a minute. I just kind of wanted to show you the initial setup, the tools that I use, and I keep it really simple. And honestly, it could just be the frying pan, this one little tin, or you wouldn't have to use a tin. Just, you could put your encaustic medium directly into the pan, and this, that would be it. You wouldn't need this other. You don't need all this stuff. You just need a few things if you're going to keep it simple like me, and then something to heat it with to fuse it. So my situation is I use it very simply, and I don't do maybe what you want to call it. I don't make art. I don't know if that's the right word. I use it as a final layer, a final coat, versus actually painting with it or something like that. Like with the white, you could add, you know, some decorative touches to whatever it is that you're doing. I will say, and when I heat this up, I will let you know. I will say that you need to be in a well-ventilated area. The room that I'm in has very high ceilings and a fan, so I keep it's pretty easily to keep ventilated. It is hot wax, so you have to be, and this is hot, so you do have to be careful that you don't burn yourself. And I fortunately have not had that experience, even when I'm holding things and putting wax on. I've been lucky, I guess, but I'm probably not as careful as I should be, but burns are a real thing, and so you do want to be careful with that. So those are all my caveats, I think, to begin. And so I'm going to heat this up, and in general, the combined, when you get the encaustic medium that is combined, which is the beeswax and the Damar resin, the recommended temperature is between 180 and 200. You do not want to go over 200. It will, I don't know, ruin it, I guess, because it's getting too hot. And also, I guess it creates fumes. So I'm pretty cautious. I heat it up and melt it. And then I mix. A lot of times, if I'm not doing it, I just turn it off and kind of go back and forth. And it does take a little bit to melt the wax. So it takes a few minutes to do that. So you have to kind of plan ahead a few minutes before you're getting ready to do it, because you can feel impatient. So I think that is all we need to do to prep it. I'm going to put this stuff aside. I'm going to heat up the wax, and then I'm going to bring over some things and show you how I actually coat it. It's super simple. And again, this would be, if you're considering it, you know, take this stuff away and just have a simple setup like this with some kind of heat tool, and you will be good to go. So, all right, I'm going to heat up the wax and we'll be right back. I wanted to show you how it comes out of the bag. I just poured some more in. It comes out in these little pellets. And I think that's just because it's probably easier to melt that way. So it's starting to heat up, but I just wanted to show you what it actually looks like. So there it is. Okay, I'm gonna let this heat up and then I'll be right back. It's been about 15 minutes, and all but one little clump that I kind of added in later is melted, and this brush is nice and soft and it's ready to go. So even though there's a little bit that's unmelted in there, I think that's fine. Obviously the way I do it is perfectly fine. But I grabbed a stack of like unfinished art. This is painted. I think I had it as a card once, and just random assortment of, this has, I think, modeling paste and paint, and they're just, like a random assortment of things. These were these book cover cards that I made, and I used to put just simple words onto them. They're made out of, you know, obviously book covers. This is like a piece of another book cover that I tried to make some art. This is like cardboard that I put plaster strips on and then painted, and there's some blank ones down here below. I just have a lot of, this is art on cardboard, which is obviously a very affordable way to do art. All of these things, here's just some cardboard pieces with different things on them. I probably won't use these. I'm gonna throw those up over here. This is actually a happy birthday card that's, I don't know, messed up, and so I drug it off. Here's some random pieces of paper that I've painted on, and just, you could, it's really, I'm just showing you, you could put this Encaustic on just about anything if it's fairly stable. But even if it wasn't stable, I'd be willing to try it. So these are just other random assorted substrates that you could use. And then, but I'm gonna use some that are actually painted, so I'm gonna set those aside. And then here was a canvas that I started messing around with. And so what I wanna say is, if you're just practicing or you're just trying to figure some stuff out, take some of your old work or work that isn't finished and then just try it, because then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't really matter. So what I'm gonna work over the top of is that tray. So I'm gonna go get the tray, and then I'm just gonna grab an assortment of these to work on and just show you the different, how simple and easy the process is the way I do it. So I will grab that tray and then we'll get started. I have my tray that is dedicated to this. It has wax in it. And I'm just gonna grab, I wanna do a few different things, but actually, I like this one better. Let's just start with this one. So this is a piece of cardstock that's kind of has tape underneath of it. You could actually Encaustic all the way around it and make it something, but let's just start here. So the way I like to do it, and the way I've and I'm gonna link a person that I've learned a lot about Encaustic from, that's Stephanie Lee. I will link her website, or maybe a class if I can find it. And she is also uses Encaustic in kind of in a similar way that I'm doing it, because I've learned a lot from her. So she does it just not as someone who's so serious about it, but just more like as a top layer. And she's willing to experiment and try all kinds of different things, which is something that I really like. So I'm gonna say the minute you pull this out, that wax is gonna start drying immediately. So you gotta keep your brush in until the very second that you're ready to pull it out and swipe it across. One of the things I also wanna mention is, what I tend to do is I go across and then maybe down, and then I'm gonna take my heat tool and fuse it, and I'll set it in here and fuse it. And again, the way I fuse it is not gonna be the way, I've seen lots of videos and they're like, oh, this is not, you shouldn't do this and that. Again, if you're just doing it for your own artwork, and you're not, as serious as I am about it, then you just do it however it works for you. But if you're serious, then, there's lots of classes and different things out there, and you can do it the right way. Because I'm obviously, I tend to just try things, experiment, and then however it works for me. So I'm gonna pull my brush out, and I'm gonna swipe across, and then maybe I'll lay it down here, and then I'm gonna swipe across that way. Then I'm gonna take my heat tool and I'm gonna fuse it. This is gonna be a little bit loud. And for me, you're not supposed to get it shiny, but that's how I know it's adhering. So I get it shiny, and then I know, okay, that's good to go. And it's just a small, I'm starting over my words. It's just a very thin layer over the top, and it can be used as the sealant, or you can make marks into it later, and I will show you some of that, how I do that after we're done with this. But for me, this one would be done. I did say I would go back across it if I wanted it to be, thicker, or if I don't know, if it was a bigger piece. I think that was plenty. So I'm gonna set that aside, and let's try just something like this. Okay, I'm gonna try a bunch of different types of things. All right, and I think I will just leave it laying in here, just for the sake of no burns on camera. Even though, like I said, I've never really burned myself. So again, I'm just gonna go across on both sides, or the top and the bottom. And if I feel like I missed something, which I think I did, I probably on this one will go back over it again. I like to get it glassy. I know that's not what you're supposed to do, but I do. Then I can see where it's at, because it does, when it dries, I think that covered it actually. When it dries, it will have kind of a softer look to it. Okay, let's just use this piece of kind of cardboard and see what happens with that. It can go over collage. In fact, it's a great final coat for collage. I will say, I would be cautious of fabric. I have put it over fabric. I don't think the result is, I don't know, quite as good. It kind of changes the fabric, but I've done it. I mean, I think experiment and see what you like. So you kind of getting the gist of it. Like this is kind of what you do. And the thing about it is then you kind of let it sit and it becomes really, what do I want to say, cured after, a while. And I don't know how many days that is. You could look that up. But so it initially it's kind of rather soft, but then later it gets a little, feels to me like almost like I go like this, and it's just super hard and not that you couldn't under heat reconstitute that wax. It would, if you put that heat gut tool on it, it would definitely reconstitute into wet wax, but or liquid wax. But in general, it feels really firm. So I'm just guessing it cures over time. So, all right, let's just do this book cover and see what happens with it. And again, I would try, okay, now that was not good, because you pretty much have to just swipe it once and then put it back and get some more on there. I tried to swipe it back and forth, and I'm talking to you, and so I'm a little bit distracted. But I'm gonna melt this and see if I can't get this to kind of even out a little bit. And if it doesn't, let me just show you something. You can actually pull some back off if you want, drip it back off. And I have done that before too, actually. So let's say I didn't want all the wax on here. I would just come over here and melt the wax until it drips off, if I feel like I got too much. So I think that's fine. So you kind of get in the gist of it. I'm gonna do a few more, and then I just want to show you how sometimes I etch into it, but let's just do a few more here. And it will start sticking when it dries, so. Okay, put this one off over here. Let's do this one over plaster. Plaster is one that's good. Okay, this is kind of fun. All right. Painted plaster. Now so there are some things around, beeswax or encaustic medium and acrylic paint. I have never had a problem, but I guess there could be a problem. I think most encaustic artists use oil paint, but I think it's fine. I think you can go over it like this. Again, if you're looking for something that's more more professional, then I would definitely, I would go to RNF's website. I would just look at encaustic artists, and you can learn a lot. I feel like for me, because I'm not as serious about it, I just tend to want it as a finisher. I just have found that just doing it this way is really, I don't know, I just think it's really cool. And I just like to use it in a simple way. All right, let's not do this card. I don't think I'll do this big one either. Although I think that would be cool, but it's a finishing, so I may want to do some more on this board because I don't think it's finished. But these pieces of cardboard, let's just do this one, okay? And we'll be done. And then I'll show you some other things how I like to etch into it. Okay, this one's gonna take a little bit more. It's a little bigger. Okay, got nice. Okay. Okay, so I am going to turn off my frying pan, literally leave it exactly like this. My brush will just dry into the medium, and then it will be there ready for me when I want to work again on it. And then I'll bring out the pieces and show you some of the other techniques or things that I do with them once they have encaustic medium over the top. All right, here are the finished pieces that I put the encaustic on. And I have to say, and they've just been sitting here for like 5 minutes. They're so smooth. It's just a great finish. This one is a little bumpy because the paint was a little rougher. I could put more coats of encaustic on this to smooth this all out, but I kind of like that. So they just feel great. So, and this one still has some bumpiness, but of course I had used a stencil with, I think, modeling paste or something on that. And then this is just over some paint and collage. So I feel like the result is great. Now remember, if you're not going to continue making art on the top of it with more encaustic or oil paints or something like that, this would be your final layer. Now, the thing that I like to do, and this is something I think I learned from Stephanie Lee, who I will link her stuff below, she often makes marks into this and uses acrylic paint, which I have a bunch of different colors here, over the top. And after she makes the marks, then she puts the paint on and then, wipes it off so it's just in the little crevices. And I think we're going to do a little bit of that just so I want to show you what that looks like. And she has said in her videos that she has no trouble with the acrylic going over the wax. So, be that what it may, if you want to use oil, you can. None of these pieces that I've made, I'm too worried about in terms of how long they're going to last. And in general, most of my art, I think I've mentioned that before when people talk about archival. I have seen pieces on cardboard at art museums that are still intact. So that is not an archival medium, cardboard. So, do with it as you will. I'm less worried about my art lasting 100 years than I am actually the physical act of making art. I feel like the more art you make, the more, it just leads from one thing to another. And so if you're worried about the archival quality, this might not be the video for you, or, what I'm talking about. But if you're just here to have fun and to make some cool things and to learn a very, very simple way to use encaustic art, then this is for you. So, okay, I'm going to pick, one to get started and get a little mark making tool and then show you this process. The colors of paint that I think would work best for this, and given the color palette that I have here, are I grabbed some Mars Black, unbleached titanium, titanium white, neutral gray, and raw umber. Now, you could use any colors you wanted, but those are more my neutral palette anyway, and I think I'll probably mostly use the raw umber. So, and I have a paper towel because I'll wipe it off, and maybe I'll grab a spray bottle as well. Got a new spray bottle. Isn't that fancy? So cool. It's no paint on it yet. I've only had it like 2 weeks, so haven't really used it that much. So I think what I'm just going to show you for sake of example. Like this little card, I don't know that or little piece, I don't know that I would do anything with, but the substrate is very sturdy and it already is feeling very, solid. So book covers are a great source. So I'm just going to say, let's just make some marks, just kind of crazy circles around here. Let's go around a couple times and just, for the sake of example. So I'm just going to use my finger and I'm going to put it right into those little crevices. And I'm going to wipe it with this. And maybe I don't need the spray, but I think I do. So I'm going to spray my paper towel and get the rest so it's not on the rest of it. So you can see how that just totally ups the game. In fact, it kind of got this S, so I could put it back over. Let's try it and see, maybe it will get into those little debossed. No, not really. So, and I could keep going over this, and again, right here, it's not stick, some of them were not quite as, the marks I made weren't quite as deep, and so it's not showing up, but I kind of like that, the irregularity of it, as I stumble over my words, always. So anyway, there's that. Okay, let's say this one, we wanted to, what should we do? We could mimic these marks. Let's just do that for the sake of example. Let's just say we want to mimic that and make some more. And then I think I'll use black because that's what they have there, what I had on here. So, and just see how that turns out. And I think you could probably use fluid. Maybe that would be better. I don't know. I kind of like these because you can really get in, you can control the heavy body paint in a way that's tricky with the fluid. Okay, I think that's kind of cool. It kind of added something that was already there. You could add, I'm not sure, you know, this, I'm not sure about these letters that I really even like that, but yeah, I mean, that's why we were practicing on it. So I kind of want to blur those out because I think in general, well, let's do that. Let's not blur them out, but let's do some more circles down here and see how that looks. But again, this would be in general your final coat, unless you were going to fuse. You can fuse oil paint, I believe. Look on the RNF site. From what I gather, you can do that, and you can fuse. Let me get another paper towel. More encaustic medium, which is paint, you know, you can use as paint too. Yeah, I like that. That's better. Kind of went over those letters and kind of made it look a little more interesting. Okay, let's put that one up here too. Okay, this one is actually kind of cool. I think I will use, let's put that up there, brown. And I see some marks over here. Now, see, the problem is because I kind of like it, then I'm worried I'm going to mess it up, but I guess it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to do maybe some tick marks. Okay, keeping it simple. Let's rub those in. So yeah, just kind of adds a little bit. Obviously, the deeper and more intentional you are with it, the more the paint is going to sit into those grooves. So yeah, I think that's a fun one. Okay, so this one, I didn't do anything to it because I wanted to tell you. There's spots on here, and hopefully you can see it on camera, that are, the wax has, the encaustic medium has pooled in here. So often what I do is I take my heat gun over the top of the wax, and I just heat it till it runs off, until it's a little more level. The problem with this piece is that it's not flat, it's curved, and so those low spots are where the wax is going to pool and it's going to settle. For the sake of this, it's fine, but I could go back and melt that wax and do something different with it, or, you know, smooth it out so it's not quite so obvious that the wax is pooled right here, the wax is pooled right here, you know. So in general, you can fix that. That's how I go about fixing it anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is, I think maybe I'll use the gray. That'd be kind of fun. Let's do some gray right here. See how that looks. Obviously you can go with whatever colors are in your piece that you're working on, or you can do something completely off base. Oh yeah, I kind of like that. That is making this piece that's kind of a little bit boring, a little more interesting. So maybe I'll do something here like little circles. Obviously, the shapes I'm drawn to are very simple, not very complicated. But kind of makes it a little more interesting. Let's get some water on there. Okay. Yeah, see, I already like this a lot better. And what else can I do? I could keep going and keep adding different things. I did want to show you some white. So this would probably be the best one to do that on. Just that kind of is a cool thing too. Let's do the white on the gray, I guess. Let's just do some long lines like this. Okay. So these are neutrals, are, you know, obviously colors that I'm always drawn to, and then those are going to be the colors that I want to kind of coordinate with. My paper towel is getting messed up here. Okay. Let's get a little more water. So you can see, you can change a piece that's kind of boring into something a little bit more interesting. It doesn't have to have a lot going on like this one. If you just blocked out some things and then plan to put some shapes, carve some shapes into it, you could do a flower, a cup, a vase, you know, whatever you wanted into this, and then put the, you know, put your paint over the top. I think it makes a really fun effect, and it is very different from anything else. And then you still have your wax finish that keeps it, you know, protected. So should I do something to this one? I don't really know. Yeah, let's make it a little more interesting. Let's add some, what should I add? Tick mark, I'm always just like tick marks, circles, X's, pluses. Okay, let's do that. And I can tell that the wax on here is kind of thin, or it could just be that the cardboard, I'm pressing into it and it's, it feels a little bit much. Okay, so this way I've used all the colors. Let's use the unbleached titanium and keep it, the contrast minimal. So you may not see it so much, but I kind of sometimes like that too, where the contrast isn't huge. Let me grab another paper towel. And I can already tell this paint is thicker, so it's probably not gonna come up as well. Okay, I don't know, you're probably not gonna be able to see that. But yeah, it left very subtle little kind of plus signs. And yeah, so so you can see, you can do a lot of different things after you put the encaustic on if this is something you want to do. I have also put encaustic into an art journal. Wasn't really probably the smartest thing to do because it doesn't, I've tried all kinds of things. I put encaustic over the top of a plaster, you know, I put plaster strips over the top of like a block of wood, and then I painted it, and then I put encaustic over it because I liked that look of the wax over it. So man, there's a million things you can do. Once you get going, it's super fun. I haven't done any since last fall, so this was great to get it out and just to show you guys. And I hope this inspires you to, even if it's not about doing encaustic, I hope it inspires you to like, just use your materials in different ways, push them in different ways, and try new things, even if you don't know if it'll work. So take something like this that you've done that doesn't mean anything to you, and just try it, just see what happens, because not everything is going to be a masterpiece. And I have to say, I just took a class from Jean Oliver, and one of the things she mentioned was how so many of the artists like Matisse and Picasso and different artists like that, they did thousands and thousands of art pieces, and only so many of them were like on canvas and were paintings. So maybe they did, you know, they had 15,000, 20,000 things on paper, which would be, in my case, like an art journal or yours or a sketchbook or just whatever. And then, you know, maybe 1,000 actual pieces. So I feel like this kind of work leads us to other kinds of work and maybe to our best work. So I just want to encourage you to mess around and have fun and, you know, not take it too seriously, but take it seriously, you know, like really go for it and do fun things. So thanks again, guys, for watching. And I realize I'm looking at this now, you can't actually see all the things. I'm like, yeah, well, okay. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.